Books. Let's talk about books. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm the Lit Wizard. I like literature. I think it's lit. And I'm a wizard. And today we're gonna do my June reading wrap up. I read 4 books in June, which is not crazy, but one of those books was 1,200 pages and the other 3 books were Dungeon Crawler Carl. Let's talk about them. Can you tell I recorded that last part several hours ago, got distracted, and then came back to this later? No? All right. Let's not tell anybody then. It'll be our little secret. Great. Make sure you also stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to reveal which book won my poll and therefore you're forcing me to read for my summer TBR. We'll say, could have been worse, and I'm kind of excited about it. The very first book that I read in June was book 2 of Dungeon Crawler Carl. Carl's Doomsday scenario. I've mentioned this before, but I was very skeptical about the entire Dungeon Crawler Carl series. I didn't think it was going to be something that I would get into. I finally decided to pick it up after seeing it at my local bookstore and getting it recommended to me again in the comments of my videos. As soon as I finished book 1, I immediately ran out and picked up the rest of the books because I knew I was going to want to read the entire series and I was going to want to binge read it. Book 2 I did also love, but did not love as much as book 1. It was still really fun, introduced some new things, still had a lot of character and a lot of heart. I just didn't find myself as interested in book 2 as I did book 1. Still gave it 4 stars because it was awesome, but it was not book 1 levels of awesome. At no point did I feel like it was slowing down. It was still super fast-paced, and I'm very excited to see what comes from some of the things that happened in this book later in the series. But more than anything, I was excited to get through book 2 and get to the next book, which is why I ended up giving it a lower rating. It will therefore be no surprise to anybody that the second book that I read in the month of June was book 3, the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook. I loved this one. It was so much fun. I know people got very confused by the whole subway system thing. Did not care. Didn't care that it was confusing. Didn't feel like I had to understand every single element of the subway system to enjoy this one. It was chaotic. It was fun. Lots of new characters, lots of new surprises, hilarious from start to finish. And when it finally culminated together at the end and they reveal a little bit about the system and the maps and all of the things that happen, I don't think that's much of a spoiler, but spoiler alert. I felt like it made sense. At least it made enough sense for me to feel satisfied when I put the book down and still excited for book 4. 3? 4 for book 4. When you're reading them back to back like this, they all kind of blend together. That's not a bad thing. It feels very cohesive and each book feels like a natural progression of the book before it. This actually ended up being one of my favorite books in the series. I'm not done the series yet. So far, I've read the first 5, but this is still probably my first or second favorite. I'm not sure yet. I ended up giving this one another 5 stars. Now, taking a bit of a turn here, the third book that I read in June, you're not gonna believe, but it was book 4, The Gate of the Feral Gods. I basically read these back to back to back to back to back, and then decided, okay, I don't want to get through them all immediately and then have no more of them to read for a long time, so I'll take a little bit of a break. So this was the last Dungeon Crawler Carl book that I read for the month of June. This one I would rank better than book 2, not as good as book 3 or as good as book 1. This one was like a 4.5 star read for me. Still awesome. I loved the kind of bubble worlds and that whole dynamic thing that was built, that universe. I don't know if it's a universe, but the world that was built for that level, I thought was awesome. I enjoyed that there was kind of like different tiers to the world. I enjoyed some of the spoiler-free interactions that happened throughout the course of that level. I thought there was a lot of cool world building and character building and growth in this book, but still enjoyed the subway system more than Bubble Worlds. Hot take, maybe, I don't know. Loved the book, but did not love it as much as book 3. The last book that I read in June, you probably already know if you've looked at any of the other videos on my channel, so I won't go into it too much here, but my final read for June was The Stand by Stephen King. This book took me several attempts to get through. I've owned this specific copy of the book for probably 10 years. I bought it in my early 20s when I was working at one of my first tech startups from a used bookstore that was across the street. I thought it looked cool. I liked that it was like an old original kind of like hardcover edition from the year that I was born. Tried to read it again, tried to read it a few more times after that. Never made it past the 100-page mark. But after it won another one of the polls on my channel and people in my comments kept telling me to read The Stand as my next Stephen King book, I relented and decided to give it another shot. And I'm glad that I did. Overall, I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars. I did not like it as much as 11/22/63, but still enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the journey of the characters and the characters themselves. In that sense, I kind of compare it to Lonesome Dove. Obviously, very different genres of book, but they're still books where it's like a focus on the characters and the journey that those characters are on. That being said, I'm still a little frustrated with the ending of this one. If you've read it, you know. A lot of people will be like, oh, it's not about the ending of the book, it's about the journey. It's still about the ending of the book. The ending of the book feels very rushed. It feels like he didn't know what to do with the characters to wrap it up. And he himself has admitted that in interviews. It definitely comes through. I was a little bit taken aback, but it didn't ruin the entire book for me. Still a great book, still a 4-star read. And it makes me want to read more Stephen King. The only other books I've read are 11/22/63, which is one of my favorites of all time that I mentioned. And I've also read Pet Sematary, which is on the shelf here behind me. That one I gave a 3-star. It's a good book. I enjoyed it, but it's not one of my favorite books and I would never reread it. I think the movie is better than the book. But there you have it. If you want to hear more about my journey reading The Stand, I do have a full reading vlog that's up on my channel and available, which I will link at the end of this video. Go check that out. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the ending of The Stand and which Stephen King book you think I should read next. But now I want to talk about my reading poll that I put out for my summer TBR. So if you haven't seen that one already, you can find that on my channel as well. I'll link it up here or wherever that side of my screen is. In my summer TBR video, I gave a breakdown of all of the things that I want to read this summer, obviously, and then left the final book up to viewer choice. I gave a list of 4 or 5 books and put those in a poll that you could then go and cast your vote for which you'd want me to read. And whichever one you picked, I would read, no questions asked. And I can now finally reveal that the winner of that poll was Hyperion. I am excited about this one. I wasn't super excited about the potential of reading ACOTAR. I'll get to it eventually, I'm sure. Wasn't feeling it right now. Wasn't feeling it for like summer vibes. Don't think I'm in my ACOTAR era yet. But I am really excited to read Hyperion. And I'm glad you picked that one. So I have picked up a copy of the book. I will read it and I will do a full review of that book on my channel when I'm done, just for those of you who suggested it and want to hear my thoughts. Right now, as a little sneak peek, I'm currently reading The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. After reading The Devils, I decided I needed some more Joe in my life. I already had The Blade Itself sitting on my shelf. I'm currently 1 chapter into part 2, so almost halfway through the book, and I'm kind of lukewarm on it right now. If I'm being honest, I'm being informed that that is normal, that it's doing a lot of setup right now, and that I need to wait for books 2 or 3. And I'm going to trust you. I'm going to see this book through, and then I'm going to get into book 2. But right now, it just feels like a bunch of guys doing stuff. Nothing's really happening. They're just kind of like going about their days. We're meeting new people. We're learning a little bit about the characters. And apparently that's largely what book 1 is. So we will see. I'm not having a bad time by any stretch of the imagination. I'm enjoying the book, I'm enjoying the writing, I'm enjoying the characters so far, but really nothing's happening, and I guess that's normal. So that's it. That's my current wrap up for June, what I'm reading right now, and what I'm going to be reading thanks to your votes. Let me know in the comments which Dungeon Crawler Carl book is your favorite, if you've already read them, and if you haven't read it yet, let me know what's stopping you from picking it up. I was really skeptical of enjoying the series, but it turns out it's probably one of my favorite books that I've ever read, and it's definitely a really good palate cleanser. If you're new here, if you enjoyed this video, as always, please like, subscribe, leave your comments, turn on notifications, whatever YouTube people say, in order to get more engagement and get more people on their channels. I appreciate you. Reading is a treat, and so am I. Goodbye.